Game subscriptions look cheap, but they're quietly robbing you in ways that aren't readily apparent. There's a real cost to them. Today I want to show you 5 unexpected ways that they cost more than just your money. And one way, apparently, to actually save you hundreds if you're into older games. As a dad gamer with barely an hour to play a day, I'll break down what works down, at least for me, and how I think it can work for you too, and avoid these hidden traps. So I'm going to pick on Game Pass just a little bit here. In the short term, when you look at Game Pass, it's $20 a month with access to thousands of games at your disposal at any time. So forget about game reviews. You're not really as dependent on those, and there's way less money on the line because you can just access these. I mean, you're part of that $20 subscription is the latest and greatest games on the market right now. You just have access to instantly. So over time and less money spent on this hobby, there's less risk involved and also less motivation to finish what you're playing, even if you're enjoying these games. Over time, I think that develops an insatiable appetite for games and just to keep consuming and consuming and consuming. And what we want may not necessarily be what we want, but what is available on these services. I think in the short term, this is fine if you just want to treat it as a way to sample just different games that you eventually want to buy later on. But over time, if you're treating this as your primary gaming source, I think you run the risk of getting bored with the constant changes. Like the change then becomes, ironically, the constant. And instead of finishing games all the way through, as these devs intend you to, we kind of just play a little bit and then stop playing and then play a little bit of something else. So either way, the intention is really not to finish the entire product. It's just kind of just experience a little bit of it at a time. So I'm going to argue the game space is different than other streaming media. I have Apple Music. You get minutes of entertainment out of that. I have Disney Plus. You get an hour and a half to maybe 3 hours of entertainment, depending on what movie you watch on there. And then there's games, which I really think is just a completely different medium. I kind of liken that more to books, like on Amazon or Audible. So games, you have a very wide range of hours you have with which to enjoy these products. So, I mean, on the short end, you get 3 to 10 hour games. On the medium, you get 10 to 25 or 25 to 50 hour games. And then on the long run, you have 50 to 100 hour games, again, depending on what you're playing. I think a suggestion that I might make for the unlimited amount of play in order to enjoy your games better with Game Pass, I think, honestly, if it changed to more of a credit system like Audible has, I think that could shake things up. And then I'll tell you more about that later on in the video. I think you might enjoy this more because freedom comes through choice and limits give you more freedom. And speaking of freedom, Mamma mia! Nintendo Switch Online is great now. It didn't used to be. I used to get really hung up over the fact that they just constantly drip feed you everything. If any company knows how to dangle a carrot in front of you, it's Nintendo. Gone are the days of the Wii Shop channel where you used to be able to buy NES games for $5, you used to be able to buy SNES games for $10 and Nintendo 64 games for $15. And it was really nice because you had the ability to choose what game you wanted to play. Now, when we look at NSO, yes, there's a big library there, sure, but you're also still dependent on what Nintendo wants to give you. And really, if you don't like what Nintendo has to offer, then that's why people are getting sued left and right over piracy. Same thing with PlayStation. PlayStation knows you want the classics. They know you want PS1 games. They know you want PSP games, but they hide that behind their highest tiered subscription service, which is $18.99 a month. And even at that, they still drip feed you what they want to feed you, over a vast amount of time. At least with Sony, you have the option of buying like Dark Cloud or something like that, or Jack and Daxter, pretty cheap if you don't want to sub to PS Plus. I think there is an odd sense of value in the sense of the drip feeding because they give you time with which to finish the game that you want to finish, and then by the time the next set of games, maybe you've experienced enough of what you want to experience with their current library. But then again, when they do give you a new game, say in the GBA library, the games that they've added in the past are kind of duplicates in the sense of that they're game releases that kind of have a SNES equivalent, only they're on the GBA. They're re-releases, you know. So that's a little bit annoying. So on the one hand, you have too little choice, but then on the other hand, you can have too much choice, and that can lead to. I've kind of learned over time that true satisfaction of whatever it is you're doing costs either your time or your money. Like in my case, most of the games I've played aren't ones that I've borrowed or ones that I've gotten for free. They're games that I've spent my own personal money on. If games aren't fun because they're either devalued, either monetarily because there's a low barrier to entry, or timely because there's just no risk involved, we can always just skip to the next. And what also truly makes a game enjoyable is your choice. So really, what's the point of enjoying all these titles if you don't have some sort of choice? Really, I think it comes down to the right balance of saying yes and no. Yes to building an entire library, and then no to saying like, okay, now I'm going to actually commit to a game to get my true satisfaction out of it. And when you don't enjoy your hobby, you're not going to anticipate what's next. When you see a game come to a service instantly and it didn't really cost you anything more than the $20 for the entire month that you've spent playing other games, games can go from a hearty meal to a snack. And when you eat snacks constantly, they never satisfy. When everything's accessible to you instantly, it kind of contributes to you stopping appreciating the games and the individual titles. It's one thing to say, Call of Duty comes out every year, so I mean that in and of itself is kind of like, we all know the next Call of Duty's coming out. But then when you have things like Indiana Jones going into Game Pass for day one, and it also goes on a PlayStation a while later. I mean, we're kind of getting one-off games like this every so often. We have a new Jurassic Park game that's kind of similar in the fact that it's kind of like a playable movie, just like Indiana Jones is, and they're starting to bring back some 90s, 80s and 90s, just kind of classic movies in general and making them into video games. So when I think of it, I think of if a game costs you something, you can enjoy it and appreciate it more because you've worked to earn it. Have you seen what Chibi Robo is going for these days? You can find it a lot of places for $140. I've seen a decent number of places where it is like $60 to $70. I've seen it go upwards of $725. And these are all through non-traditional channels like eBay and all these other secondhand places. So Nintendo Switch Online has a kind of rare W right now where you can get this as part of the service for $20 in the entire year. And to me, that's kind of really something that saves a bunch of people a bunch of money and stuff for those who grew up on Chibi Robo. If Nintendo can keep doing games like this and really decrease the physical market, like online yard sales or eBay or something like that. Not that these people are scalping, but when a game first goes on sale, it goes for regular retail price. Sometimes it even, back in the GameCube days, it did go down to $20. But then after a long time, the value just goes way up because they're not in supply anymore. So this going back into supply is helping drive down the cost of this. So now gamers have an alternative, and which is great. Physical copies of older games that don't have scratches on them, I mean, like the digital marketplace really comes in clutch here. This video, as much as it sounds extremely negative and doom and gloom, it's not an anti-services video, but there are sneaky potential threats that you can fall into if you're not careful with these services. I'm a multi-console owner, and I don't personally have Game Pass. If I only had Xbox, I probably would sub to Game Pass. I personally choose to spread my games thin. I did just let my PlayStation Plus account just run out. So for a couple of reasons. One, it used to be $5 a month, and that got you online cloud saves. It got you it got you 2 games a month. So basically I was looking at that for like $2.50 a month. Sometimes the games that they gave you hit, and there was a lot of times the game would miss. But when these games hit, they actually really hit. I mean, right now there's Mortal Kombat 1. But just recently, the price of this service just doubled in price. So now you're paying $5 for each game, and I don't know, like you're getting the same value. I get it. Everyone wants to in this economy to pass off as much as they can onto the customer. So I really don't find the service worth it for right now. I do sub to Nintendo Switch Online. One reason I do sub to this service is because there's a few coworkers and me. We all split the cost. So really, what it costs me personally is like $10 to $15 for the entire year. So I mean, as much as I complain about Nintendo having access to all their stuff, it's $10 a year is really pennies on the dollar. And I'm really excited for what they're doing with the GameCube stuff. Wind Waker is my favorite Zelda game. Soul Calibur is one of my favorite games of all time. I mean, I grew up playing that all the time. And it appears as though they're doing more than just a drip feed. It appears that they're maybe doing a slight stream of games. Really, my favorite thing as far as gaming is the traditional, like if I'm locked into a game franchise like Mario or Zelda, I'm buying that, or even GTA 6, I'm buying that day one full price, and I don't care if GTA 6 is $100. Obviously, that would suck for it to be $100, but I do think that's going to be on the higher side. But we're all locked into that game that like it doesn't matter for games. It doesn't matter for reviews. That game is just going to sell out like crazy. Or even if I do find an older title for cheap. I just recently had Immortals Phoenix Rising on the Switch. I really thought it looked like trash. And like to the point where I was all like, I think I'm just going to upgrade my copy to buy an Xbox One copy for $5 on GameStop. And then that will just automatically upgrade to the Series X when I pop in the disc. So was a low cost, and then pretty much you don't have to play brand new games, and I especially hate brand new games when they have a day one patch, because that's just telling the game industry it's okay to give us mediocre games. Maybe I might make it not really an exception, but like I do think that Star Wars Jedi Survivor was an amazing game. It did have a day one patch, and it's still a little bit buggy, but to me overall I thought it was better than the first one. But again, I bought that on sale months later on Black Friday for $35 instead of $60, and I didn't feel the need to finish the game really quick in order to get the next one to get my money's worth out of my subscription. I really think the best way to go about an access to millions is really with kind of like an Amazon credit system. If you were to accumulate credits and use one of these to add to your library per se, yes, it would be less, and I do think there would be outcry from those who are so used to having access to those thousands of games. But I really right now, Xbox is releasing games onto their service day one, and then I don't really know the behind the scenes of the businesses, but why are they releasing games on PlayStation? Why can't Xbox compete on the basis of exclusives? The exclusives is Game Pass, but obviously they have millions of subscribers. I think they're profitable. I think they could be more profitable if they stuck with some sort of exclusives. But I do hate how much they push Game Pass. I really wish it could be more of an option than a mandate of Xbox. So, did everything I say make sense? Did I give you any new ideas for how you game with services? Do you like game services? Do you think they're a scam? Like let me know in the comments below. If you'd like to follow me on anything here besides YouTube, Twitter is my main. I'm on anything and I'll respond to anything, but I'm mainly on Twitter. A like and a sub helps out the channel if you want to see more games for busy people. I am a dad gamer and a gaming opinion reframer. I'm going to leave a video on screen about how I like to game in my 30s and how I think you can too. Especially by managing all your different chores and family life and job and all that stuff. So I'll see you on the next one.